What does Indigo Park hide off camera in Chapter 1's introduction and theater area? Indigo Park is a mascot horror game where you enter a once popular theme park that is now in ruin. Armed with only a flashlight and an AI companion, you must brave the unknown to figure out what really happened there. But there's quite a few things we can't see behind the scenes, like this giant hello message to all of you watching right now, or a bunch of lions beneath the floor. Today we're heading into the park, riding a train, and working our way through Lloyd's Theater. We'll also be breaking things along the way, so I hope you enjoy this game-breaking experience of Indigo Park. As always, I like to start with a very brief summary of the events of the game so we all know the flow of things. We start off at the front of the park and must make our way inside. Soon after, we find Rambley the Raccoon, appropriately named because he talks a lot. We sit down at the computer and then have to power up a generator to get in the main gate. Afterwards, we'll make our way into the gift shop to get ourselves a critter cuff. This lets us open various doors by scanning our wrist. We then make our way to the train station, spot ourselves a creepy bird, and hitch a ride to be introduced to other characters in the game. The train glitches out, and we must find another generator, and once we do, we arrive in the hub area of Indigo Park. We need to make our way into Jetstream Junction, which is locked, and the key can be found on Lloyd's main stage, the theater. So we make our way over there, encounter the spooky lion, shuffle through a jump scare, and ultimately snag the key. We get jumped by Lloyd on our way out though. That's the end of the recap, and now we turn back the clock. Let's quickly take a look at the title screen. Normally we can see somewhat down the dark hallway, and Mollie Maccaw just chilling there, but with things brightened up, Mollie Maccaw would just turn salad black due to how she is rendered without lighting being cast. But we can look around this map to see it's just a vertical slice of a hallway suspended in the middle of nowhere. We'll be seeing Mollie in this pose quite a lot as we move on. Let's boot up the game now. And just in case you were curious, this intro is a video file, so we can't explore it. There is, however, a video called Lore in the game files, which pokes fun at Easter eggs and has a photo of MatPat. Happy retirement, buddy! So starting off outside of Indigo Park now, the map for this area is massive. But that's not the only massive thing. The player we play as is completely swole. If we move the camera, we can see his twin guns. I did not get the impression we were super muscular when playing, but we also can't see most of the arms either. Anyways, we can only explore a small section of this map, but if we move our character out of bounds, we can explore basically everything out here as we run around in the parking lot. If we run way behind the map towards the clock tower and Ferris wheel, we'll start seeing some grass texture applied to the stone ground. This may look odd, but if we zoom out, we can see a funny call out to Gamebreakers. It says, "Hi YouTube," with an icon of a heart. Why, hello there dev team. Don't mind me, just gonna break apart your game. Also going to point out the Bird Up Soda here on this sign and in the intro cutscene for all you Bam aficionados out there. So I'm running around the map quickly like the Flash just to see if I missed anything else out in the great beyond, and I don't believe I did, so let's move on. Speedrunners will probably be interested in knowing that the plot advances based on the player's location for a lot of this intro. So if we just incinerate the door, we can skip ahead to getting our bracelet. Rambley will trigger no matter what for each section if runners can find a way to clip through things. As we head into the train station, we will load into a new map, and this is what that looks like zoomed out. There's a banner pole way out of bounds, and beneath the map, we can find some odd white rectangles. They're kind of shaped like a train car. Not sure what they're used for, but we can find them down here. Now, if we were to actually get on the train track, we can walk around. If we move too far back into the train, we'll trigger it to start moving, and the map will unload even though we aren't on the train. Rewinding time real quick, if we head down the path to the train, we'll see Mollie Maccaw peeking around a corner. Once we hit a certain point in the hallway, she'll slink off behind the wall, where she will eventually unload. Let's hop back on that train now. Rambley's Railroad takes place on an isolated map at first, and if we zoom out, we can see how far the floor stretches out. It goes on quite a ways, and there's some grass and things painted here and there. Out of bounds, we can find a stack of boxes, but not really anything else. For reference, this map lacks collision, or at least the current player character doesn't have a collider. It's one of the two. So if we try to get off the train, we'll just fall through the ground, and then warp back up to the train. It is kind of neat to fly through this attraction though, and take a look at everything up close. Mollie Maccaw's cutout is double-sided, and we can once again see her peeking through a doorway in the second room. She won't trigger her animation until the player reaches a certain point on the train ride, and she'll repeat the same animation we saw just before this area. Up ahead, we can see Finley hiding in his cave as he's just clipping through rocks in the back. We can also see a broken cutout of a villainous character lying on the ground who is revealed later on. Now once the train stops and the scene loads, bounds, collision is restored to this area, and if we remove the collider around the train, we can explore the railroad on foot. It's pretty cool running back through it and checking out all the areas we couldn't before. If we run to the start, we'll eventually come to a dead end, where we enter the tunnel. However, there's a photo of Lloyd and Rambley that is easy to miss. If we remove the darkness from Finley's cave, we'll see it's just blocking a pile of rocks in the back, which honestly isn't that surprising. We can also just run ahead of the train too, and we can trigger Lloyd's dialogue with his cutout. At this point, I jumped off the tracks and into the mosh pit, as all of this has collision intact. However, it's very easy to get stuck down here, so I don't recommend just diving into a crowd of people randomly. If we run along the train tracks, we can also hit the loading zone for the next place, which takes us to this chapter's hub area by the fountain. If we were to immediately turn around and remove the collider near the train, we can follow the train tracks out of bounds, and we'll realize that they actually start on top of a building out here. The player can never see the map from this perspective though, and we're able to jump off the roof and then head out of bounds, where we can find some background art assets from the train ride. Let's go ahead and do a zoom out of the hub fountain area now. There's nothing hidden under the map, and the clock tower is empty as well. I did spend some time exploring out of bounds though, as the floor runs under all the buildings out here. And speaking of buildings, let's warp back over to the hub and check out a lot of the buildings we can access. So the second floor in this building with the purple roof is completely barren, as you can see. Just some plants clipping through the roof mainly. Across the road and upstairs in the building, we'll find a destroyed area. Somehow this hasn't collapsed yet, which is highly dangerous, but let's break open some doors, shall we? In the bakery, there's a door in the back that won't open, and if we remove it, we'll see the door was just placed against the wall. Also, the doorknob was moved to the center, while the lock is off to the right side. So that's a thing. Over at the shop of photos, there is a set of blue doors blocking our way into the building, which we can use our level 99 lockpicking to open up. The building is incomplete inside, but it can be explored. However, that's enough urban exploring for now, so let's head into the theater. So when you enter the theater, you'll see Lloyd napping on the stage. He has some looping animations that will play, but he won't wake up at all until the player begins to approach the stage. But while that's going on, we have a character beneath the stage falling into the great beyond. I barely caught this, but as soon as we load this map, Mollie Maccaw begins plummeting down while striking her iconic peek around the corner pose. Her torso isn't rotated properly for it just yet, but you can see just how far we are beneath the map. I think she gets teleported back up top after we enter the warehouse. We can also find some 3D animation assets for Lloyd down here too. This is the animation that plays when we scan our wrist and Lloyd jumps us. We'll cover that shortly, but the player model and Lloyd are stored down here. Just under this model, we can find Lloyd's walk cycle that is used later on too. Let's go back up top now. So Lloyd begins to move once we get to the second or third row of chairs, and he'll run behind the curtain. We can see he very quickly runs off to the side, and when viewing this again in slow motion, we can see he just sort of runs through the wall. You can watch him flash out of existence a few times, and I'm not sure if this is a bounding box issue or my game just glitching out. Sneaking up on Lloyd doesn't do anything, and we can't even get near him due to his massive round collider that is tied to his model. I tried to remove it, but accidentally, removed Lloyd. He's got 9 lives though. Right? Now, this next room probably has more going on in it than you may have realized while going through it. I heard a lot of stuff in this room during my first playthrough, but I didn't see everything. Turns out Lloyd is growling at you from just beyond this storage shelf. He normally walks away if we start going down the stairs, but I materialized behind him and he kind of freaks out. This is a common thing in horror games where a monster's head is designed to follow a player, but if the player gets behind the monster, the rotation will make the head invert itself due to its pivot point with the model's rigging. And so Lloyd's mane and head just flips upside down. We can walk through him too, and he won't do anything. So we'll just leave him here. Next up, we have a jump scare where Lloyd reaches out at us and then gets smashed by some junk. We can see he spawns in here within this black rectangle and then just slithers out. He's a bit clumsy though, and we can watch him get smashed in slow motion. We can then watch as his limbs get pulled behind his body as he just kind of melts into a blob of a cat before he slides backwards through an object and unloads. Glorious! Our friend with the upside down head is still here though, so not all is lost. So after you grab the key, Lloyd appears again as he walks around. Now this one is odd because it's really hard to actually encounter Lloyd. He's here, but he'll unload before you ever get near him. I couldn't even see him at all in my first playthrough. As you can see, he's just gone the second I get deeper into the room. So instead, I reload, and then I spawn in behind him. He just walks around like a robot. He has a huge collider on him, so it stops us from moving when we get near him, but it doesn't stop his pathing, so he can clip straight through us. Even if we remove the floor, he'll walk right over the holes as he continuously loops. Once we make it to the other side of the room, we once again have to scan our wrist, and this action triggers another jump scare. Lloyd instantly appears behind us and lunges up at us as a high-pitched frequency emits and causes him to fall over. He then runs off to the side as it fades to black. And this is what that cutscene looks like from a different point of view. Those models down below are called upon and move to our position, and then warp back down here afterwards. And of course, we have our good old bird buddy peeking around this doorway as usual. She was saved from the eternal pit, only to crunch up around this corner and then vanish once again. And with that brings us to the end of Lloyd's Theater. Next up, we're diving to Jetstream Junction and the rest of Chapter 1. So be sure to subscribe now so you can watch that the moment it drops. And a big thanks to the team for getting us an early copy to break. The game's super great, with a lot of passion put into it, so I highly recommend checking it out.